Hi, welcome you all. Let me introduce myself. My name is Vivekanand Sharma and I take care of client onboarding process for BeForest. It's so great to see you all. So in this session, I'm going to talk about who we are and what we do as Team BeForest. And then slowly we'll move towards what's in the store for you when you want to be a member of Mumbai Collective. So let me just give you a brief background before we start the formal session. So my BeForest is founded by two passionate people. One is Sunit Reddy, who is alumnus of IIT Madras, and Shaurya Chandra, who is alumnus of IIT Roorkee and IIM Ahmedabad. And there is a story, how BeForest started, how our other collectives are working in existence. And of course, then we are going to share what's in the store at Mumbai Collective for you all. So I hand over this session to Sunit Reddy. Sunit, over to you.
Thanks.
Just one more, Sunit, I just one more point I want to share over here. So while Sunit will be speaking, what I request that whenever you are getting any query, just keep on writing in the chat. This is enabled for you. So we'll keep on answering that. And if any question get missed by us, then we'll be responding to that query later, or we can have one-to-one conversation later also. So just keep writing your questions in the query. Thank you, Sunit. Over to you.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for the introduction. Like Vivek said, we'll be talking about how BeForest got started, how we conceptualized with it. We'll even, I'll tell you about the team behind it, and then we'll dive into what we have in store for the Mumbai Collective. So very quickly, let me share my screen here. Right. Vivek, can you acknowledge you're able to see my screen?
Yes, I can see that.
Right. Yeah, so BeForest, who are we? Let me introduce myself in a little bit more detail along with my co-founder also. So I'm Sunit Reddy. I'm an alumnus of IIT Madras, and I feel like those 4 years on a campus that was situated in the middle of a forest actually shaped my outlook towards how communities can actually coexist with wildlife. And I also want to introduce Shaurya Chandra, who's my founder and partner for the last 10 years in several ventures. In 2009, Shaurya and I were part of a group of 8 individuals who started the first algorithmic trading company, which went on to be one of the top 5. And by 2017, actually, we were doing exceptionally well. We were clocking more than $1 billion in revenue every day. But still this shift happened. And I'll talk about why and what motivated us to move on. All through those 10 years of running iRage Capital, we had always been discussing, we were nature buffs at heart, and we had always been discussing about why we don't have to be in the city, and especially the maximum city, Bombay, because we were pretty tired of the traffic, the noise, the pollution, and all the characteristics of a major city. And we always wondered why we couldn't work out of a farm. And around 2017, there was a farmer crisis as well, where perishable prices were hitting the dirt, and most of the tomatoes and other vegetables were being just dumped on the road. And that sort of got us wondering how food as a segment, if you think about it, food is one of the fundamental resources of life. It's not replaceable by something else. And yet it was deemed as, food production was deemed as unviable. And that sort of surprised us. We were traders at heart. In fact, we were high frequency traders. So we understood volatility. We understood the opportunity that volatility brings with it. So we thought, why not we take a look at it, and maybe we'll come up with something that's more viable. That's how the initial foray into initial serious look at farming happened. We had always been hobby farmers, but we never really took it seriously. So this was our way of hitting two birds with one stone. We'll get to work from a farm as well as solve a problem that was troubling us. Now, if you think about it, it was not just us. I'm sure most of you attending this session or have also thought about it at some point in time. 9 out of 10 people have thought of living in the hills or working from a farm, especially in this environment. Most people are thinking about it. So we are also in the same boat. We had been thinking about it for quite a while. But what stopped us from making the shift? It's the usual suspects. The common reasons being, we felt like we wanted to make more money, buy another home. There was, if we had to move, we had to move with family. So there were kids, there were parents to think about, healthcare, education. These were the primary things that were always making us postpone the plan. But because we prided ourselves as problem solvers, and once we had decided let's do it, we started to think about how can we make all this happen. And when we deep dove into this process, we realized that these are quite high on the hierarchy of needs. The fundamentals themselves were not guaranteed at a rural landscape. And by fundamentals, I pretty much mean food, water, and power. Without these, you can't provide these higher needs of housing, education, and healthcare. Now, so we thought about imagining how do we bring this food security, water security, and power security into a rural landscape. And that's where the whole brainstorming process started. At the start of the exercise, this is what we thought living on a farm would be like: fresh food, abundant water, a very slow life, unlike what we had in Bombay, lots of bonfires, and a 4-hour work week. That was our impression of farm life. By the end of the exercise, this is what it turned out to be. There was very little fresh food because we were mostly growing to sell. Otherwise, we couldn't make ends meet at the farm. Abundant water bodies was a myth because at a scale of 5 to 10 acres, we were so prone to what my neighbor does, that one day we will have all our three borewells functioning, and 6 months later, none of them would. A slow life, yes, it is slow, but it wasn't easy. It was very hard work, and there were very little time left for doing bonfires on most days. 4-hour work week, no. But the interesting thing was we were able to work from home. Work from a farm actually takes on a very different character because you're really working from a different place every day. You were working from under a tree, sometimes by in the middle of a carrot farm, sometimes from the guest house itself, and so on. So this was the last part was something we really enjoyed, but the rest turned out to be very different from what we had initially thought. And yes, it burnt a big hole in our pocket. So now that was a serious problem, especially for someone like us who was looking to make this a full-time thing. And then we started talking to people who were also running farms and asking them how they were managing to do it for so long. What we realized is, except for a few passionate people who are completely living on the farm and working on it, the rest, there were hundreds of farms that we went through, that we iterated through, which had gone through the same cycle. They had all started off with great initial enthusiasm. And then a couple of years later, the farm was in a limbo because it just could not hit economic viability. So we realized it was not just something that we did wrong, but it was something more systemic. And that's when we fell back on this maxim that you can't solve a problem using the same methods you used to create them in the first place. So we decided to completely reimagine everything we knew about a farm and go back to the drawing board. And this is how our mood board looked like. We wanted outdoors to be a part of our life. We knew that we wanted a forest feel than a farm feel because we really believed in forest therapy. We believed that a forest actually makes us feel better and has quantitative benefits in terms of health as well. We wanted to introduce the simpler pleasures of life: reading a book, bird watching. In fact, I was a very avid bird watcher, so I wanted to really introduce bird watching as an art to connect with the ecosystem itself. Um, Yes, of course, the abundant water bodies never left our thought process. The lakes had to be an integral part. Farming, of course, had to be done on a farm. Um, and once we started doing all of this, we tried when we started realizing this mood board, bringing it to reality. This is how our farms ended up being. They looked more like forests than farms. And in fact, this picture is from our Pumale collective in Coorg. As you can see, it is very unlike any other farm you would have visited. This is a proper coffee estate. Most of the trees at the bottom layer in this picture are coffee plants. But there are many other things that are growing along with it, which makes it look like a forest. And that is where we had our aha moment that a forest is basically what we were trying to do, and a food forest really, because we were also trying to grow food as well. Now let's look at the Mumbai Collective and what we have in store for you. It's just a sneak peek because honestly, we don't make big plan. We don't make a master plan without actually doing several studies on the ground. First, the location, the first question that comes to us always. Bombay is a big city, so there's no point telling the distance from different parts of town. So let's just take it from the Mulund Chetnaka. It's about 76 kilometers, as you can see on the Google Maps picture that we have put here. It's on the way just off the Nashik highway, and what that means is the land you actually are pretty close to most modern amenities, including Starbucks and McDonald's. But what was even more important for us was healthcare and education, as we spoke to you about. So we noticed a lot of good schools. We just listed one here, but there were quite a few good schools in a 20-30 kilometer radius, and also lots of good hospitals as well. The landscape itself, so this piece of land is actually nestled between two monsoon streams, and it's like a triangle which is formed between the two rivers, and that's what makes it interesting because the presence of a major water body sort of introduces so many different opportunities into the landscape of using this water, of using the different microclimates that it creates. So this is how it looks from the sky, and mind you, this is a rough picture of what we imagine the boundaries are. We are yet to plot it down on the ground. The plan for the place is primarily to revive, restore, and reimagine. So revive because most of this land is being cultivated monsoon. It's rain-fed agriculture mostly, but it will revive very fast because this place actually has 100 inches of rain, and it's very close to the landscapes we have dealt with in the Western Ghats in terms of rainfall. And we want to restore a lot of local flora and fauna over here, make it look and behave like a forest. And yes, of course, we want to completely reimagine the way a farm community exists. We don't want to go the conventional way. This was an interesting picture. This is one of the few native trees that we saw growing there. This is a flame of the forest tree, and sort of very metaphorical in that sense. It's like a traffic light, but it's just asking you to stop and take all the nature in. Now, when we looked at this farm for the first time, there were only two ways we could think about it. One is a conventional farm plot project where we really mark the boundaries, cut it like a cake into rectangles, and ask people to buy different pieces. Or we could look at it as a collective where the whole landscape is behaving like one. It is a slightly more abstract concept, and people will have to let go of certain notions they have of owning a farm. But believe me, in the long run, it's a lot more fruitful, both ecologically and economically as well. So we chose the farm forest way. We didn't want our farm to look like this. We wanted it to look more like this. And in all our collectives, this choice has made all the difference. If our Coorg collective, for example, is already operationally break even, barely 2 years into the process, and it's not like we produce more than the rest of the estates, but because we have a diversity of produce, it has helped us achieve resilience in terms of prices, disease resistance, and many other factors that work together. So yeah, this is the Mumbai Collective. It's like an open invitation to come join us and grow a forest with us, and create a prototype which can be adopted by the surrounding, the larger landscape over there. Something that's replicable. We once we create a backbone, we look forward to actually engaging with the neighboring communities also, to leverage our experience, our knowledge, and our backbone, and make it a much larger process than just 100-acre collective. That's our long-term vision with the Mumbai Collective. Right. So who is it for? Well, I think it's for anyone who wants a break from the endless traffic in the cities, the uncertainty about water. Now, this is something that actually surprised us about Bombay. Every monsoon, we used to have floods, continuous floods for those 3 months, like roads being completely inundated with water. And then come summer, our complex had to depend on water tankers to support us. So if you want a break from this cycle, if you want to completely start solving some of these problems for yourself and not delegate it to a higher power like a government or a municipality, most of these are actually well within our power to solve for ourselves. And if you're looking to do that, this collective is the right platform for you. um, what does the collective offer? Well, we definitely offer fresh produce right off the farm. It's a farm to table concept, of course. It along with that, it sort of gives you a more involved life, ways to bond with your family beyond just going for the movie or the occasional holiday. Outdoors being a part of your daily life, not the occasional camping trip, but being a part of your everyday life. And most importantly, it starts introducing a producer mindset, and you start moving away from being a consumer subconsciously, without actually intending to do so. And yeah, one of the key points we want to put across is, whatever offering we are talking about, please do not look at it as just buying land. What we are talking about, whatever we are saying, covering in a certain price point, includes the cost of agriculture land, the cost of building a housing cluster, the cost of putting in all the experts. Now, this is something that we want to really stress on, that we're bringing together a lot of experts who are perhaps the best in the country in their respective fields to collaborate for the first time. These are fields that probably will never talk to each other on another day, but this time we have managed to bring all of them together and work on the same problem. So that obviously involves some cost. Then there is the cost of earthworks as well. Remember the lakes and the water bodies that we were talking about. They don't just happen by themselves. We have to make them. The cost of the first 3 years of operational expenses are also included. The reason for this is, for the first 3 years, we don't want to pressure the farm. We want to take that the question of economic viability out of the picture. We want to allow the ecosystem to first rejuvenate, invest in that rejuvenation without worrying about the returns for the first 3 years. That is why we have included that cost itself in the pricing. And of course, it's not all costs. There is an advantage also of buying together as a collective. There is a difference when you buy 1 kilo of tomato versus a 1 ton of tomatoes. Similarly, there's a difference between buying 2 acres as a separate farm and buying 100 acres together. And that pricing difference is being passed on to you. We are not pocketing that arbitrage, we are passing on the advantage to you. There are several options of participating in the Mumbai Collective. Vivek must have mentioned it to most of you, but I'll just iterate through it anyway. The first one, we are calling it a home at the farm. The concept here is, you would have a home in the housing cluster along with some neighbors. These are clusters of houses just like villages once existed, with the food forest all around. The plot sizes we are targeting are roughly about 500 square yards, and the home sizes we are looking at is 1,200 square feet, which is basically a 2-bedroom house. The option to go larger or smaller exists depending on your need, and of course, the pricing will change along with it. The introductory pricing for this is 1.48 crores. And then there is the private estate option. For those of you who want to have a feeling of your own farm, we have noticed in our other collectives that this is also an important aspect of people moving to a farm, that they don't want to live in clusters. But if you want some kind of your private farm kind of a feeling, then the private estate option is for you. So obviously a separate house away from everything incurs a larger footprint and a larger carbon footprint also, and hence to account for that you need to hold at least a 5-acre total holding. The plot size itself would be a 2000 square yard plot. You would be free to do what you want inside it in terms of growing a garden. You can't obviously build a 5-floor building there, and those rules will be there. But if you want to do a kitchen garden for yourself, you're free to do it. This would be visually separated from your neighbors. But it doesn't mean you don't have access to the rest of the collective. You're just as much a member of the collective as anyone else is. The pricing for this starts from 3.14 crores. Now let's come to the big question, right? If you remember the procrastination problem, we've always postponed it for whatever reason. So why now? We say, let's bring about a mindset change. Let's ask the question, why not now? All these problems that we spoke about city life, the traffic, the pollution, the carbon, this is actually a very unique time in history. We are the most convenient generation in terms of material benefits, but if you look at it, there are several downsides to it as well. For example, every breath we take, we are inhaling almost 82% more carbon dioxide than 100 years ago. And the last time this quantity of carbon dioxide existed on Earth was around Big Bang. Not on, I think, a million years or billion years after Big Bang. I'm not sure, but a long time ago. Actually, around Cambrian evolution. So that's when a lot of species emerged on Earth. So you can imagine the kind of stress, the biological stress that our body is going through without us even knowing about it. The amount of pollution in the air, all the dust particle, the particulate matter, all of this that bothers us on an everyday basis. It seems like great soil seems to solve a lot of it. And I'm not just saying that as a rosy picture, but if you think about it, if the soil carbon content actually increases by 1% on all farmland on Earth, the carbon emissions of the last 50 years would be sequestered. So that's the extent to which soil can actually solve this problem of increased carbon content in the soil, in the air. And now this seems really like a silver bullet for a lot of problems. And we feel that the best time to start affecting this change is right now. Let's not postpone this. So once we have addressed, now that we've addressed that problem of why now, let me tell you why Bee4est is your best bet at doing this. One is, like I've said, we're bringing together experts who would not have otherwise collaborated and from unrelated fields to come to the same platform and work on a single solution. The second thing is we've done it before, and that execution experience counts for something. If you look at Pumale Estate, which is our first collective in Coorg, which is now fully subscribed again, was started in March 2019. That's a real picture of our collective. Has about 48 members there, 127 acres. Now we are actually thinking of extending it as well. Then this is our Hyderabad collective. Again, the phase 1 of this has been fully subscribed. We'll be opening up phase 2 in a couple of quarters. This was started a little bit later in July 2019. So we worked on these large landscapes, and this experience means a lot in terms of permaculture landscapes, because there are very, very, very few people in the world who have actually worked on 100-acre plus landscapes when it comes to permaculture. So that experience, the ability to bring the relevant people to the table, that's what separates us. So what are the next steps? We take something called as an earnest money. So if the moment you have made that decision to come on board, you basically block a slot. We are calling it a slot simply because it's not a plot in the conventional sense. It's a mix of joint ownership of land and a housing cluster and all of that. So that's why we call the whole package as a slot. So you book your slot with an earnest money of 5 lakh that you pay. And once our acquisition of Mumbai Collective is done, we are somewhere midway through and we would be completing it in the next few months. Once that is done and the land is ready to be transferred into a common structure or an individual holding, that's when we can take the complete booking amount. The schedule, etc., is a more one-on-one conversation once you've expressed your interest. So that brings us to the end. Let's get started. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sunit. It was an amazing session. And based on what I have been talking to many people, I just want to share a response to one of the query which comes that why before we started a specific incident. So as I had mentioned to many of you, when Sunit and Shaurya were in Mumbai, so they used to have social gatherings, parties, and people used to discuss a concept of farming with the dreamy eyes. And there were two set of people. One set of people who thought, why not to have an amazing place when I'm going to retire and I'm going to enjoy that at a predefined frequency when I'm working in the city to make my bread and butter. And there was second set of people who were highly resigned and failed. Why? Because they had hit the reality, they had owned the farmhouses. So Sunit, in this group, I have talked to many people. They are people who have owned the farmhouse at the individual level. So why people get resigned when they own the collective at the individual level? Because to have the working connection of water, electricity, sewage, getting right people to work on the labor farm, and getting right people to secure your collective. And if you are lucky, then you'll not get meddled into the local politics of the local village, because most of the farmhouses are away from the city, some are near some local village. So it's not easy. And that's why many of you have either abandoned that dream or exited from that. And that's why a question came among those friends of Sunit and Shaurya that idea is good. Perhaps we need to relook at the approach to own it. And that's why from the individual ownership, idea moved to collective ownership, and that succeeded. And that succeeded, and testimonial of that is fully subscribed Umale Collective and the Hyderabad Collective. Because there is power in the group. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Second question which comes, what kind of people are there in our collectives? So people almost from all walks of life, especially the achievers in whatever they have been doing, are part of our both the collectives. So people are engineers, doctors, pilots, authors, wedding photographer at the larger scale, wildlife photographers, lawyers. So these kind of people are there. And my sense of the interaction with each one of them is that they are like you, they are the achievers in whatever they have been pursuing, either as an employee or owner of the company or whatever they are doing. So these are the people who have been there, done that, and want to experience and want to self-express now in this setting of the nature. The same setting which we just talked about. So before we conclude, we have tried to respond to all the chat which came over here. I'll go through again, and if we have missed any question, we'll respond to that. And anyways, my number, our number and email ID has been given, so feel free to contact us. And thank you very much to be part of this session. It means a lot. And we are just a call or mail away. So thank you, Sunit. And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. We conclude the session.